Our actions, they're eternal. Our actions are the makhluk, Allah created them, but the effect of our actions are going to be felt forever and ever and ever. And that's when I believe someone does something evil, the evil of their action is manifest in the hellfire. And they spend the rest of their eternity in the hellfire. And whoever does a good deed is manifested in Jannah. And so they get bliss and happiness and they feel good for eternity. So that's the reality of the knowledge that we have. So it's not just about having cognitive understanding, but it's also about our lives changing and our conditions and our states, our external states firstly, and our internal states secondly, changing. And our knowledge of Allah Azza wa Jal increasing. And inshallah Azza wa Jal, that comes through repetition. There's no secret to it, there's no magic to it, there's no magdallah for me and I'm going to learn the whole everything. It doesn't work that way. It needs hard work, it needs dedication, it needs commitment. And the more that a person commits and the greater the dedication and the commitment that a person has, the more knowledge they'll gain and the more benefit they'll receive in this world and the next world. So قال المؤلف رحمه الله رضي الله عنه وعنكم نفعنا به وبكم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله في نعمه وفي المزيد والصلاة والسلام على خير الأنام وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. He says وعليك بالمحافظة على فعل الصلوات الخمس مع الجماعة والمداومة على ذلك. Alright?
64.
Yeah.
The start? No. Last sentence. Take care to perform the 5 prayers with the congregation and persevere in this. For the collective.
Thanks. Alright, so as we said previously, the ulama has said that when they've been asked, the scholars and the salihin and the righteous people, and the hukama, the wise people, the sages, and the awliya, the friends of Allah Azza wa Jal, when they've been asked previously, what's the secret of the whole deen? And they said that to pray in congregation, as-salatul jama'ah. So to pray in congregation, particularly so for males, is the secret of the whole deen. And so the Imam is going to talk a little bit about what the meaning of that is, inshallah azza wa jalla. So he says that to be vigilant. In other words, not to leave prayer in congregation. It's a big issue to leave prayer in congregation. Okay, and he says al-mudawama. What's the word that he used for mudawama? Like to be steadfast or something? Persevere. Okay? So persevere is the continuance of something. Someone's persevering in doing something, they're continually doing it. So it's not just to pray here and there, it's to make it habitual in the sense of the performance of it, but not habitual in the sense of the practice of it. So in other words, to always be doing it habitually, but not to make it just a habit. One has to have a greater spiritual connection to Allah Azza wa Jal through the Salat al-Jama'ah. Okay? And he says, فَإِنَّ الصَّلَاةُ الْجَمَاعَةِ تفضل على الصلاة المنفرد 27 درجة كما في الحديث الصحيح.
For the collective prayer is 27 times better than an individual one, as is stated in the same hadith. Okay, so now he's quoting the hadith as both Bukhari and Muslim. One says 25, another one says 27. 27 daraja. So the daraja is levels, or you can say exponentially. And there's another hadith that says like praying 27 times as well. So to pray in the masjid, to pray in the house of Allah, to pray in congregation, it may not be in the masjid, particularly in this country that they're always up, they're not always masjid around, and they have funny hours and they lock them up and do all sorts of things. So if just to pray in congregation increases the prayer by 27, exponentially 27 or by 27 times. So we're people of materialistic existence, we're people of commerce, we're people of consumer society. So if anyone told you you're going to get 27 times the return on a particular thing, to do a particular thing, to invest in a particular investment, there's no one's going to say no. Not one person would say no. Only someone either immature or not all there. Everyone else, 27. If I give more, can I get 28? If I bring a friend, can I get 29? That's our mentality. Whether we like to admit it or we don't, that's the environment in which we live, so we're affected by that. And it says, وَاحْذُرْ أَن تَدَعَ الصَّلَاةَ فِي الْجَمَاعَةِ لِغَيْرِ عُذْرٍ أو لِعُذْرٍ فَاسِدٍ.
Be aware of missing the collective prayer for no good reason or for an unacceptable one.
Alright? So that's the only time really that a person can end the Shafi'iyya and Imam Shafi'i, it's fard kifayya. Fard kifayya. And some portion of the community has to get together, make the adhan and pray together in congregation. Okay? And Abu Hanifa, it's a sunnah. Abu Hanifa, one of the ulama, he says it's sunnah, that it should be done. Mu'akkada, that it's practiced by the Prophet of Allah, that it should be done. And Imam Ahmed is one of the other madhahib, it's fard. It's fard in Imam Ahmed's madhab to pray in the masjid. So it's a serious thing, because why do the Shafi'is say it's fard kifayah? Because in the time of Ridda, when people were, the apostates, the people were they were leaving the deen. Apostating? They were renouncing their Islam, and so Sayyidina Abu Bakr, he sent the different governors, he sent Sayyidina Ali to Yemen and different people to collect the zakat, and they said, how should we know if these people are Muslim or they're not Muslim? So what did Sayyidina Abu Bakr and Umar say? He said, if they do the adhan and they're in Jama'ah, khalas, they're Muslims. If they're not, qatiluhum, fight. Okay, so that's what the Shafi'i uses the dalil as the evidence to say that it's fard kifayya. Because if a portion of the community is doing it, then the rest they're not sinful in that sense. They've completed their obligation to Allah. Does that make sense? No? Yep. All right. So it says the only time you can leave wahdhur and tada. It says so al-hadhr is to be extremely careful, to be cautious. In other words, be cautious within your relationship with Allah, which is what? Taqwa. Okay? Taqwa. Al-waqaya is cautious. So be cautious in your relationship with Allah in terms of leaving the prayer in congregation. This is particular for males. Particular. Also applies to sisters if it's possible, but it's particular for the males. Okay? And then he goes on to say, وَمَهْمَا جِئْتَ إِلَى مَوْضِعِ الْجَمَاعَةِ فَوَجَدْتَهَا قَدْ صُلِّيَتْ أو قعدت في بيتك تبتغي بذلك السلامة في دينك فينبغي أن تضم إليك من يصلي معك.
If when you arrive you find that they have already finished praying, or if you are keeping to your house in order to safeguard your religion, you must find someone to pray with so that you may obtain the reward for the collective prayer and escape the threats made in the text against those who abandon it.
Okay, so he says, لِيَحْصُلَ لَكَ ثَوَابُ الْجَمَاعَةِ وَتَسْلِمَ مِنَ الْوَعِيدِ وَالتَّهْدِيدِ الْوَارِدِ فِي حَقِّ تَارِكِهَا. Okay, so this is an important aspect of the prayer in congregation. There's not one riwayah. I asked so many mashayikh, I did so much research. There's not one narration that the Prophet of Allah ever prayed a fard salat on his own. He may have, but there's no narration that says. Pretty hard, I'm supposed to find a narration that says, because someone had to be there to see it, and he never told anyone alayhi salatu wasalam, so that's probably why. But it's not narrated in any of the hadith that the Prophet of Allah ever prayed on his own. Never. So that tells you the importance of praying for a fard prayer. So it is. So it doesn't matter in whatever state that you come to the congregational prayer, even though it's over. And there's a hadith the Prophet of Allah saying, he mentions that whoever goes, actually, I marked it so I can read it. It's a bit long, but basically alayhi salatu wasalam, it says, إِذَا تَوَضَّأَ أَحَدَكُمْ فَأَحْسَنَ الْوُضُوءَ ثُمَّ خَرَجَ إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ لم يرفع قدمه اليمنى إلا كتب الله عز وجل له حسنة. So he says that the Prophet he mentions this in Abu Dawood. He says that there isn't a situation where a person makes wudu at home and goes, in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the sisters, they used to go and pray in the masjid. There was a place for them, the Prophet used to welcome them. So this applies to both. But for the men, it's a greater imperative. It's a greater imperative, because in a bit we'll get to the excuses for not going in jama'ah, and not many of them apply to men. More of them apply to women than they do to men. So he said, whoever makes wudu at home, and that's the recommendation, the prophetic tradition is make wudu at home, because you don't want to put extra stress on the resources of the masjid, unless you're out and about, travelling, whatever. So make your wudu at home and walk to the masjid. Every time that a person lifts their right foot, Allah gives them a reward. Every time a person, the rest of the hadith, lifts their left foot, Allah Azza wa Jalla takes away a sin. And every time they take a step, Allah increases them a level. Pretty good. And the hadith even goes on. This is what we always talk about. Imam Haddad, Sahih, he's talking about all these words are mustambata, they're taken from the prophetic tradition. What does the Prophet say? Even if a person, he comes to the masjid and most of the jama'ah is gone, and he وَقَدْ صَلُّوا بَعْدًا وَبَقِيَ بَعْدًا, he gets the same reward. So we're going to use he in this instance, because the imperative is on the brothers to make sure they pray in the masjid. Sometimes we use see. Okay? What if the whole prayer has been prayed? Still, they get the same reward. So in other words, if you're going to go to the masjid, and that's the habituality of it. Okay? When it's a habit that we should be trying to get there before the iqamah. So if the iqamah is at 7:30, we want to get there 7:25, 7:20, because entering the house of Allah, what's the dua? Who knows? Okay, Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, Tubtu-Allah, Astaghfirullah, whichever one of those. Allahumma, Allah, open up your doors of mercy upon me. So it's entering into the house of Allah is a mercy. It's a mercy. So a person, there's time to adjust from the ajala, from the headaches and the stress and the worries of the world, to the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so when you're coming late to anything, you feel flustered. Anytime you're late to something, you're flustered. So imagine being late to the prayer. What's the state of your prayer going to be? Flustered. It's not going to be in concentration. It's not going to be in hudur al-qalb, as we spoke about previously. Presence of heart or presence of mind. So going early to an appointment, how do you feel? You feel you acclimatise yourself, check things out, what's happening, who's going, who's coming, the nature of the building, the nature of the paintings on the walls, whatever's going on, you relax. No different to the masjid, no different to the house of Allah. Going there earlier, letting the rahmah affect the person. Letting the rahmah change one's heart, one's state from the state of busyness in the world to a state of sakina and tranquility in the house of Allah Azza wa Jal. So going a little bit early is good. But don't go early and sit with the boys, hey, go on. And you send the brothers, they do this. You're in the house of Allah. They get up after the prayer, and their point is to make a loud slap. What's that? For men, it's a aib to slap. Men, we don't clap or slap. We don't do either of these things. The Prophet, if you want to clap, he would do this. And in the prayers, the women, they're the ones who clap. If there's a mistake and no one knows the mistake, and the women know the mistake, they clap on their thighs. Men, we don't clap and we don't slap. But that's what they do. I've seen them how many times. Brother, in the masjid. This is not a cafe. It's not a meeting spot. It's not a hangout. You want to do that? Do it. I'm not saying don't do it, but not in the house of Allah. This is the house of Allah. If it was the house of your boss, you wouldn't do that. Let alone the house of Allah Azza wa Jal. So there's hurumatullah. There's the sanctity of Allah Azza wa Jal. So being in the house of Allah Azza wa Jal should change one's heart. And so when you're going early, you pray 2 rakat tahiyatul masjid. Two prayers, 2 units of prayer, to say, thank you, Allah, you let me come into your house. You invited me and I accepted your invitation, Ya Allah. It's a big deal, Ya Allah. And I'm saying thank you by praying to you. Ya Arhamar Rahimeen. Then sit quietly. Sit quietly. And we spoke, the Imam told us last time, people sit and talk about the affairs of the world inside the masjid. It's okay, take care of your affairs. You should take care, you must take care of your affairs, but not there. That's the sanctity of Allah. That's the sanctity of Allah. There's no time for bought, sold, come by later. Well, what for? Why don't you go to... It's 5, 10, 15 minutes of your whole day. Or the other people, they're checking their emails, or we're checking their WhatsApp, or checking their Facebook, or what do you mean? Check it outside of the masjid. A person has to be different inside the masjid than they are in any other place. Because we're the guests of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you go there, Imam Abu Hanifa, we said it before, he had a tayalis, he had a big, like a cloak, and he used to put it over his head so no one used to see him, and he's sitting in the masjid. He doesn't even want to answer questions of the deen at that time. He needs time to focus on Allah Azza wa Jal. Alright, so that's the state we should be in. You see someone, yeah, whatever, don't worry. But if you want to see someone and say salam, first you say salam to Allah by doing the 2 units, the 2 rak'at of Tahiyyat al-Masjid, then say hello. Well, that's the sunnah. That's what we're trying to change in our lives, changing our states, inshallah Azza wa Jal. So, even the person that comes late, that's what happens, Allah Azza wa Jal. What's the dua for going to the masjid? Allahumma aj'alni nura, waj'al 'azami nura, wa lahmi nura. Ya Allah, make me, enlighten me. That's the dua. Not only me, make my heart light, make my bones light, make my muscles light, make my flesh light. That's the dua that the person says when they go to the masjid. So what, you're going to go there and turn off the light? You've made the dua to get there. Every step you take, Allah's elevating your status. You're going to go in, brother, alright, we love you too, man, but there's a place for that. The place is somewhere else. You want to say hello? Wait till everything's over. On the way out, say hello. You want to say salam? Assalamu alaikum. And even entering into the masjid, the brother comes in, Assalamu alaikum. Habibi, it's makruh. There's people praying. There's people reading Qur'an. Okay, if there's everyone sitting, no one's doing nothing, you can say it loud. Otherwise you say, Assalamu alayna wa ala ibadallahi salihin. Salam to us and the pious servants of Allah, quietly. And then no one gives salam back, the brother gets upset. What did you give you salams? I gave everyone salams. And then if you walk in and you say that, look at you, why didn't the guy give salams? That's the sunnah, I didn't make it up, I'm just a follower. Not just in Lebanon, bro, locally around the area as well. That's how they're excited, they're happy, which is good, but don't let your happiness overcome. Because when the emotion of happiness overcomes, we'll talk about it a bit more, why the shaitan enters through that door. Happiness, I'm happy with what? Myself. I'm happy with myself. No, be happy with Allah. Be happy with Allah, and then you won't get into that euphoric state that leads a person away from Allah. It'll be a euphoric state that takes a person to Allah. So, that's one of the hadith. Whoever goes, and this is one of the things we're going to talk about a bit later on, it says, alayhi salatu wassalam, he said, من خرج من بيته مطهرا إلى صلاة مكتوبة فأجره كأجر الحج المبرور or حج المحرم. So whoever does the wudu goes to the house of Allah. Why? When people go into the Hajj, where are they going? House of Allah. Yeah or no? Yeah. Kind of. No? Yeah, isn't that where they're going? House of Allah. Where are you going when you pray? House of Allah. Okay? The house of Allah. So, why shouldn't a person get that reward? And if the person who goes, same hadith, the person who goes to pray duha, because remember we talked about salat al-duha, where's the sunnah to pray that salat?
9 a.m.
Where?
In the masjid.
In the masjid. Okay, that's the only sunnah prayer that you should pray in the masjid other than tahiyyah. Right? That one, if you pray that, tahiyyat al-masjid, the duha is about 9 o'clock, you know. It's actually any time about 20 minutes after sunrise. So when the sun rises, 20 minutes after sunrise, up until just about 5 minutes before the midday prayer, before Dhuhr prayer. Okay? So that one, if you go to the masjid to pray that, you get the reward of Umrah. Because what's the difference? Hajj is farad, and the salat al-maktuba is farad. Hajj is an obligation, and the 5 prayers are obligation. But duha is a sunnah. Yes? Yep. Yep. Okay, duha is a sunnah. And Umrah, except under Shafi'iyya, is a sunnah. Shafi'iyya is wajib for us, it's fine. Allah says, Atimmu al-hajj wal-umrah. So the Shafi'iyya says it's fine. Alright, what else does he say? Alayhi salatu wassalam. This is a beautiful one. This one says there isn't a person, there isn't an individual, there isn't one of you, he says alayhi salatu wasalam, that makes wudu. Isbaghul wudu. And what's isbaghul wudu? Perfection. Yeah, it is. To make it perfect. And what else?
Fulfilling all of the requirements.
Yeah, isbagh is to go over. So, if you're going to wash your arm, you wash just above the elbow. Isbagh is to go higher. Like Abu Hurairah used to wash up to here. Yeah? We spoke about this before. Alright? And then to wash the ankles, the feet above the ankles, the ankle bones, is to go halfway up his calf. Alright? That's what the Shafi'iyya say, isbagh al-wudu. Imam Malik says isbagh al-wudu is to be constantly in a state of wudu, which both of them we should be trying to do as much as we possibly can. Whoever does that, ثم يأتي المسجد ولا يريد إلا الصلاة فيه إلا الصلاة فيه. So the person goes to the house of Allah only wanting to pray to Allah. No other wants to see so and so, catch up with fulan or whoever. That تشبشب الله إليه. Beautiful word. تشبشب الله إليه كما يتشبشب أهل الغائب بطلعته. What does that mean? That means like someone you really love, someone you're top friends with, you went to school together, whatever, you haven't seen him in ages. You walk around the corner, there he is around the corner, or she is, oh, fulan, so and so, what's been happening? Long time, we're so happy to see you, grab, hug, cry, kiss, whatever else. That's how Allah likes to see that person. Just like that's the person who's coming to the house of Allah, Allah reacts to them like you react to that long lost friend of yours or person you haven't seen that you really love, not someone like, oh yeah, it's so and so, but someone you really, you get along with them and there's a good connection between you. So that's just for going to the house of Allah. Allah's like, oh, what's going on? Ana masana, I'm happy to see you. What's happening? So they're just some of the fadail. There's heaps of them, but they're just some of the ones that I wanted to mention about going to the jama'ah. And there's another hadith, they say that whoever prays in jama'ah, khalas, their salat's accepted. Whoever prays in congregation, their prayers are accepted. Khalas, it's makhtoom, it's stamped, their prayers accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whereas if a person prays at home, and they're not concentrating, they're not focusing, they're thinking, I want to get this over so I can go play PlayStation. Still PlayStation, it's the same. No? Still around? Xbox. I want to go play Xbox. I want to go and, do whatever. And then something's going, oh, I should have done this, should have done that. Guess what happens? Prayer could even be rejected. But to pray in congregation, prayer is accepted. Alhamdulillah. So that's some of the benefits of virtues of doing that. He says, so that should be the state of the believer. Right? There's another hadith that says, I think we read it in this Imam al-Haddad put it in this book, that when you see a person who constantly reposes to the masjid, constantly goes to the masjid, ashhad lahu bil iman. Bear witness, testify, this person has iman. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. When the Arabs came, the Bedouins, they came to Rasul and said, Ya Rasulullah, amanna. No, la taqulu amanna, walakin qulu aslamna. They came, the Bedouins, they said, Ya Rasulullah, we got iman. He said, no. Don't say you got iman, say you got Islam. Because the iman hasn't gotten firm in your hearts. So what does that mean? That's the verse of the Qur'an. So if the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, bear witness that so-and-so who goes to frequent the masjid, okay, they've got iman, what does it mean? It means, if the Prophet said about the Bedouins, iman has not come into your hearts. But the person who goes to the masjid, what happens to their iman? It comes into their heart. Right? Rasakh. It's entrenched or rooted in one's heart. Because there's another one. Who are the people that are exactly, barakallahu feek, shaded under the arsh of Allah? Then his heart is connected to the house of Allah. A person whose heart is connected to the house of Allah. So there's some of the virtues. Okay, so there's another one he says that says, أو قعدت في بيتك تبتغي بذلك السلامة في دينك فينبغي أن. So he says, look, there's another excuse the Imam gives, that sometimes there's extra fitna in the masjid. Like, it's an ugly thing. It's an ugly thing. And really, our masajid, are not far from that today. This is like salam. Yep, they're good for prayer. And then what else happens in our masjid? One time the sister, she did a report, Jazakallah khair, about the masjid, about the state of the masjid in New South Wales. And we had a class, and the sisters were complaining. They go, how come there's no place for the women? And how come there's this? I said, all right, no worries, sisters. What do you think goes on in the masjid? They had no idea. Nothing goes on in the masjid. It's dead. Other than the 5 prayers, and then if someone dies, everyone shows up. 3/4 full to read Yasin, and then eat sweets and go home. Other than that, what goes? You tell me. I'm not going to tell you. You tell me. What goes on in the masjid? Lawsuits, and then people fight. Oh, that's what goes on. Lawsuits, ikhtilaf, you're so-and-so, you're a proper Muslim, you're not a Muslim, you're kaf. That's what goes on in your masjid. Or you have to kiss the ring, is the classic saying, the mafia saying. You got to kiss the ring. So if you want to go to the masjid, you got to fulfill the requirements of whoever operates the politics, in other words. Why are our masjid open? In the time of the Prophet of Allah, if anybody had an issue, if anybody had a problem, if anybody had a need, where'd they go? To the masjid. Today, if you got any problem, if you got any need, if you got any issues, people go as far away from the masjid as possible. Why? Because what does the Allah says? Baytul Ussisa ala taqwa. If the essence of the establishment of the house isn't on the taqwa of Allah, caution, it's not going to happen. And become what? Personal territory. The masjid is now personal territory. You pray in my house, that's what it's like. I'm the coordinator, the whatever. It's got to be under exactly what I want. What do you know about the subject? You're an administrator. You're not an alim, you're not a scholar. You don't know about what should be taught in the masjid. You're there to clean the carpets and pay the electricity bills and renovate or keep the maintenance. That's your job. When I went one time, we had a meeting with the Catholics, and they go, oh, we want to do a thing with the mosque. We want to do like a joint venture with the mosque. I was like, unfortunately, the mosque is only a piece of property. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, it's just a certificate of title owned by an organisation. They said, are you for real? I said, yeah, there's all their churches, they're all waqf. None of our masjids are waqf. They're all owned by an organisation. It's a piece of property. Where's the barakah going to come from? Where's the barakah going to come from? So there's a time when staying away from the masjid is a way to protect your deen. It's a very limited time. It's not now. Even though that's all going on, it's not the case. You can still go there. You walk in before the adhan. The adhan's made. You sit there. You pray. Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum assalam, and you go home, and you won't have any problem. So we're not at that time, but that time is going to come. Not only that, if you live in for example, Shishan, or you lived in some place in Eastern China, Western China, you live in some place where whoever goes to the masjid, in Egypt was like that before they got rid of Mubarak. If you went to the mosque, they'd sit there and take, even Syria, we went to Syria one time ourselves, we went to Masjid Umawi, the intelligence people, they're following us around, just listening to what we're saying. That's what happened to me, more than once. So if the situation is where going to the masjid is going to jeopardize your safety, then you can stay at home. Aqsa's like that, huh? Okay? So in that situation, you can stay at home. But what does he say? He says, لِيَحْصُلَ لَكَ فَيَنْبَغِي أَن تَضُمَّ إِلَيْكَ مَنْ يُصَلِّ مَعَكَ. So يَنْبَغِي, what is the word he used there? That you've got to get people around you to pray with you?
You must find someone to pray with you.
You must find. In Arabic, it's a lot. يَنْبَغِي, it's basically an obligation. Not in this like a Sharia obligation, not an obligation under the Sharia law, but an obligation for you. So that means your children, your neighbour, your wife, your husband, your brother, whoever's around, and don't pray on your own. That's basically what it means. So that means if you can't get to the masjid, it's too far, like it might be, depending on where you live, then you should try not to pray alone. Try and pray with your family members, your neighbours, whoever it might be, visitors to your home, so that you get the reward of praying in the congregation. ليحصل لك الثواب الجماعة وتسلم من الوعيد والتهديد الوارد في حق تاركها. Because the person who leaves it, it's a bit of a problem. Leaving the congregation, leaving the jama'ah. The Prophet ﷺ mentions in the hadith, he says, don't be like the lone sheep. Because the lone sheep gets eaten by the wolf. the more you're with the congregation, the less chance you have. And who's the wolf? MashaAllah. The more chance you have that shaitan's going to affect you, the devil, Satan. So if you stay with the Jama'ah, you'll be alright. It says, مثل قولي عليه الصلاة والسلام لينتهين أقوام عن ترك الجماعة أو لأحرقن عليهم بيوتهم أو بيوتهم.
The Prophet, may blessings and peace be upon him, has said, certain people must stop neglecting the collective prayer, or else I shall burn their houses with them inside.
Alright, so heavy duty. So the Prophet's saying that he'll burn the houses, as you say, with them inside. That's not the Arabic part. He says, لِيَحْرَقَنَّ عَلَيْهِمْ بِيُوتُهُمْ. But it doesn't necessarily mean that he wants to set them on fire. Because when the sharh of the hadith, when you look at what the ulama say, the explanation of the hadith is that what's more valuable, your house or the house of Allah? Okay, that's one of the explanations. The other one is that what happens to your house if it's on fire and you're inside it? So leave, right? Leave the house. So the Prophet is making a point of how important it is to pray in congregation. Okay, saying that your house is not going to save you from which fire? Okay, as well. So there's about 30 different meanings to the hadith, according to what it's in Fathul Bari. No?
I'm saying it's heavy. If you read it,
Yeah, it's
super
super
heavy duty.
That could be dangerous.
Super heavy
If
duty.
you didn't have the scholars, I'm saying interpret.
Yeah. That's what these guys use. These guys overseas, they use these kind of ahadith to justify burning people. They've got no idea. وقوله عليه الصلاة والسلام من سمع النداء فارغا صحيحا فلم يجب فلا صلاة له.
And for the one who hears the call, is healthy and unoccupied and does not answer it, there is no other acceptable prayer.
Right, so the nida is the adhan. Someone hears the adhan, the call to prayer, and they do not respond. Because I remember in the old days, don't forget in the old days, that it was the voice. And that's what the Prophet used to measure. Ibn Abi Maktoum is a blind man. And then he said, he came to the Prophet of Allah to say, he's blind, don't forget. There's no roads like today, there's no pavements, there's no seeing eye dogs, there's none of the traffic lights to make the noise and all. There's no cars, so probably don't need traffic lights. And he asked the Prophet of Allah, saying, Ya Rasulullah, I'm blind, I've got no one to take me. He said, can I be excused from the congregational prayer? And the Prophet said, as long as you can hear the adhan, he's blind. He says, whoever can hear the adhan, they have to attend. So, I don't know, today doesn't your phone go off with the adhan? That's it. Unless you're tied up. And then what does the hadith say? Sahihan farighan, or farighan sahihan. So the person is free from being in a situation like you're holding up a well or you're doing something. That's the excuses we'll go into. And they're sahih, meaning their body is not afflicted by an ailment, they're not sick in other words, then they got to go. They got no excuse for not going. Excuse me, that one is, if they don't go, then no prayer will be accepted. To hear the adhan, so you're outside the masjid, you just finished whatever prayer, maghrib, and you're talking with your buddy, you got to go somewhere, you run late, and you hear the Isha prayer, you got to run later. Because that's it. You've heard the prayer, it's time to pray in that masjid, unless there's a valid excuse. He says, وَقَوْلَ ابن مسعود رضي الله تعالى عنه لقد رأيتنا وما يتخلف عنها يعني الصلاة والجماعة إلا منافق معلوم النفاق ولقد كان رجل يؤتى به على عهد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يهادي بين الرجلين حتى يقام في الصف يعني من الكبر.
And Ibn Mas'ud, may God be pleased with him, said, we have seen a time when no one stayed back from the collective prayer except hypocrites whose hypocrisy was well known. In the days of the Messenger of God, may blessings and peace be upon him, they used to bring men who had to be supported between two men until they were stood in the road. This is how severely those who neglect the obligatory prayer, collective prayers are regarded.
Right, so heavy duty. The time of the Prophet ﷺ, Only an open munafiq, an open hypocrite, would not come to the prayer. And even Allah says, if they go to prayer, if they stand to go to the prayer, they're lazy. They don't really want to be there. They're going begrudgingly. Okay? In Yemen, where we studied in Tarim, if someone in the locality, they didn't come, a male, didn't come to the masjid to pray, then what they would do, they would take the nash. You know, the nash is the thing they put the dead people in, the pall there, what's it called? There's a name for it. Anyway, the nash is where they put the dead people. So they said that there's an English name, not the actual casket, there's an actual name for it, but I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, the thing that they put dead people into transport, the coffin that they put them in to put them in the ground, but it's the thing they put them in to transport them. And so the men in the masjid, what they would do, they would go, oh, so-and-so hasn't come, let's go, he must be dead, because only a dead man would have come to the masjid. That's what happened. They go, they put the nash in, and then if they found out that he just had no excuse for coming, they'll leave it 3 days in front of his house. That was the tradition, to let him know, mate, you can't miss the Jamal unless you've got a valid reason. So that was the seriousness. You're a dead man. All right. So that's one of the things. That's the reality. If you want the benefit, you've got to say, like said, there's no magic cure. There's no click of the fingers. There's no, oh, Shaykh, help me. Or something, I'm going to do a special wird or dhikr, and I'm going to learn everything. I'm going to do a special litany or remembrance, I'm going to know everything. It's hard work. And we don't like that word because your guys' generation is worse than mine, and we're worse than my dad. My dad, that's all I ever knew, those guys. I'm like, hard work, and us we're kind of like 50-50, and you guys have got it much easier than we have it. So it's difficult in the time that we live in to want to commit to something, but the only way someone can commit is if there's meaning to it. That's why we seek knowledge. When there's meaning to it, then we're more likely to commit. We're more likely to say, yep. And commitment is what? A decision. Yep, that's it. I'm going to do that. When people climb Everest, people go to the bottom of the ocean. You know, people do those ultra marathons, 100-kilometer run in like a day or two. You know, people, they do crazy stuff, and what we find it hard. And that's all normal, that's all okay. But it's hard for us to commit to our deen because we're going against the grain. It's the reality. Everyone's saying, oh, Muslims are crazy and we're going to blow things up, and we're strapped, and they want to take over this country as well, and whatever else they're coming up with every day new stuff. So it's hard, but it's only as hard as we make it. Once a person makes a commitment, no one can stop them, whether it's bad or good. No, that's it. No one can stop them, and it's just making that decision to say, that's it. I want to change my life. I want to be a different person. I want to know Allah. I want to be successful in this world and the next world. That's all it takes. Everyone's looking pretty sleepy, so that's all I'm going to do. It's spring. You've got to sleep early. Because spring, it's a tricky season. When summer goes to autumn, you want to sleep. But when spring comes, you're awake. You know, the body's like, oh, it's nice and sunny and this and that. Everyone's knocked out. Everyone's like, okay? Except they do. All right? So you got to sleep a bit early. It's not summer yet. Wait till summer comes and you can stay up late and sleep during the day or whatever else. But spring, you got to sleep a bit early, 9 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock, latest 10:30, because the body, it needs to recover. It's still in winter mode. It takes a while. That's why spring. Look at the hikmah of Allah. That's why. Imagine if it went winter, summer, we'd lose our minds. We'd lose our minds. It'd be too much. Hot. Wait a minute, one day it's 12 hours of sunlight, the next day it's 16, 17, 18 hours of sunlight. We'll bash our heads on the wall just to relax. We can't handle it. So Allah Azza wa Jalla, that's the hikmah of Allah. He sends spring to get us ready. But it's cold at night. Why? So you can sleep. So you can rejuvenate. So your body can get back to being more active and all these things. So don't think it's summertime yet. Get out the beach ball and the Hawaiian shirt and the zinc. It's not quite time for that. Not quite. It's getting there, but we need the energy. We need to relax so we can take it easy, inshallah. Is there any questions about any of that? No? Another important thing is tomorrow or the day after, depending on which calendar we're following. It's going to be the Hijjah, which is the month of Hajj. So the Prophet of Allah said, this is one of the sacred months. Allah says that there's 12 months in Allah's calendar, and 4 of them hurum. 4 of those are the sacred months, and this is one of them. Dhul Hijjah, it's coming up. Like I said, I don't know, whichever calendar. It's like the moon or follow the calendar, whatever it is you want to do. And the Prophet ﷺ, they used to fast a lot in this time, and especially these first 9 days, because on the 10th day is al-Haddad, and up to there is, they used to fast all 9 days. Whoever fasts the 9th day, with the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, the day before the day of Arafah, it's as if they fasted the whole year. So try and fast that day. If you can fast all of the 9 days, it's good. But if you can't, at least try and do the 9th day of Dhul Hijjah. I don't know what it's going to be. If they're saying 14th is the first, so plus 9 is like 23rd of September or something. So try and fast those days. And if you're going to give money to do Qur'an, don't cut your hair or clip your nails, because the prophetic tradition is not to do that after you give the sacrifice. And if you've got good, alhamdulillah, if Allah's given you money, you've got savings and stuff, my suggestion is to give to Palestine or Syria. If you're a bit tight, just find the cheapest one and give the Qur'an. But if you're earning money, make sure you do that. So if you're doing well, alhamdulillah, you got a bit of cash, go to the most expensive one. So don't cut your hair and don't trim your nails.
For how long?
Until you do the Adhiyah, until the animal is slaughtered, which will be on the day of the Eid.
Prepare for raiders now.
You said the 27 Hassan for paying is it the same whether it's in the masjid or at home?
It's in congregation, that's it. So that's
There's no
about 2 people. But the more, there's a hadith that says that if two people praying together is better than 4 people praying together. And 4 is better than 8, and 8, sorry, the other way around. 4 people is better than 2, 2 is better than 1, 4 is better than 2, 8 is better than 4, and bigger than 8, of course, is that. So the more people, the more rewards. But the impetus is to get to the masjid. That's the impetus. For a male, that's the impetus. At the masjid, you'll be accepted. Otherwise, who's going to pray the imam? Is his qira'ah correct? Is his fatiha right? Is your fatiha right? All these, the rules that go along with it are under your own responsibility. But when you go to the masjid, صَلِّ خَلْفَ كُلِّ بَرٍّ وَفَاجِرٍ. بَرٍّ وَفَاجِرٍ, the hadith says, pray whoever, as long as he knows how to read the fatiha, pray behind him. And Ibn Umar anhu, the son of Umar, he prayed behind al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf. Hajjaj ibn Yusuf, he smashed the Kaaba with the catapults. It's an extraordinary character. Alright? So, if you go there and you pray, what do you care? As soon as you walk in the door, you're under the rahmah of Allah. When you leave your house with wudu, you're under the rahmah of Allah. And when Allah loves to see you when you go. So, that's the deal. You constantly got to remember these things to encourage you. Like, when people are athletes, they put mantras and they put posters on their walls, and we need to do the same about our deen. Why shouldn't we have posters on our walls that say something or other that relates to our deen? Encourage us to go to the masjid and change it every once in a while, or put a whiteboard and write the hadith in your room. About, there's that really good book for Fadail al-A'mal, the Tablighi brothers use it. It's got really encouraging, excellent hadith. The whole book's great, and they've got really good books, really good hadith about going to the masjid. Write one every day. Right, when you used to write it and you read it, you'll encourage yourself to go. You'll be encouraged to go there. So, look, the udhiyah, it's called the Qur'an, really. And the Qur'an comes from the word qaraba, which means what? Qaraba. Arru. Alright, close. Arabic Lebanese arru. So it means to come, be arib. Arib. Close. So the whole point of the Qur'an is okay, the meat goes to the poor people. No worries about that. And you can eat some yourself. But the whole point is to sacrifice something for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. So we know that the essence of that comes from Habil and Qabil. Cain and Abel. Right? They both dig the cheek, to tell the run of the story. He digged her and she digged her. And then he's like, no, I want her. No, he's like, no, you can't have her. They said, alright, what we do is, we put a Qur'an. Let's sacrifice something to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Habil, he was a goat herder and a sheep herder, he had sheep. Qabil didn't really care, he just bring some wheat, chucked the wheat. And in those days, the fire used to come from the sky and take, and burn, take whatever, what Allah accepted. So the fire came, took the sheep, that was Habil's, Abel's, and then he, that's it, he won. And then Cain didn't like it, so he came and killed him. Qabil came and killed him. The first murder that ever happened, over what?
Body shame.
It's us that are problem, not them. What did she do? She's innocent. Alright? So it's about the men, ego of the man, saying, oh, I want to do this and I want to do that, and the excuse came that it's about a woman. Okay, so what does Allah Azza wa Jalla says? That Allah la yanalu luhumiha wala dima'iha. There's a verse in the Qur'an that says that Allah doesn't take from the meat, nor from the blood of the animal. وَلَكِنْ يَنَالُ التَّقْوَى مِنْكُمْ. Allah Azza wa Jalla, the taqwa, go back to the word taqwa. Your cautiousness and relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's what the Qurban is about. And the ultimate Qurban, that was the first one, the ultimate sacrifice. That was the first. The ultimate one is the one that's related to Hajj. Okay, where Sayyidina Ibrahim, he saw in his dream that he has to slaughter who? Which one? There's Ismail and Ishaq. There's two riwayat, both sahihah. One Sayyidina Ali says it, one Sayyidina Ibn Mas'ud says it. So there's two different narrations. Who is it? Ismail, Ishaq. Doesn't really matter anyway, because the moral of the it's one of those moral of the story scenarios. He sees him in his dream, right? He says, so I saw in my dream that I have to slaughter you. The dreams of the prophets are what? They're wahy, they're revelation. The dreams of the prophets are revelation. He has to do it. So he goes to his son, probably about Hamza's age, maybe a bit younger. He goes to his son, he goes, look, I saw in my dream, I've got to fix you up, that's it. And he says, oof, is that what you saw? He says, don't worry. Do what you are ordered to do. So you'll see me that I am from those who persevere. Right? Yes?
Yeah.
And then what happens? Then Hajar comes. Does she lose her mind? Pulling out her hair, you're going to kill the son? She goes, oh, is that what Allah told you to do? She goes, you go ahead and do it. Alright? So then Sayyidina Ibrahim's got the knife. And he's walking up the hill. And who comes? The shaitan comes to Ismail. And he says, what? He has lost his mind. The guy's gone senile. Something wrong with him? He's going to slaughter you. So what does he do? He gets 7 rocks. And he throws them. That's why when they go to Hajj, they throw the stones at the shaitan. Then he comes to Hajar. He goes, your only son. You sacrificed the desert, whatever. She throws the rocks. He goes to Sayyidina Ibrahim, throws the rocks. Alright, so then he goes, puts Sayyidina Ismail. He's about to slaughter him. And Allah Azza wa Jalla sends al-Qibish al-Azim, a huge ram from the heaven, and he slaughters it. So the ulama, there's different, like heaps, a lot of different meanings in it, but the ulama of al-Raqa'i, the ulama of the hearts, and that's what we want you to focus on. What do they say the slaughtering is about? Slaughtering what? The nafs. Okay, slaughtering one's ego. So Sayyidina Ibrahim, he was 100 years old before he got 99, before he got a kid. Okay? He's had it. He's gone. No, there's no chance to get another one. And Allah says, my order over your child. So it's Ibrahim, it's his nafs now. And then he goes to Ismail, who is the son of Sayyidina Ibrahim. He's also a prophet, or Ishaq, as you want to say. He goes to Ishmael, and he's a son. He goes, I've got to slaughter you. Just slaughter me, mate. Do what you got to do, Dad. No worries. Nafs is broken. He goes to Hajar, his wife, Hagar. Slaughter. No worries. So when a person goes against their own nafs, what chance does the shaitan have? Yeah? When a person conquers, takes over their own ego, has the ego in its place, has the ego tempered, and has the ego crushed, and not overtaking the person, shaitan can't affect them. Isn't that what happened? Came to Ismail, threw the rocks, rack off. Came to Hajar, threw the rocks, You're going to have no effect on me. Came to Sayyidina Ibrahim? No. So the slaughtering is the slaughtering of the nafs, the ego, the lower self. So if we can keep in mind these aspects of this the hijjah, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's a bit easy for us. The days aren't too long. They're a bit long, but not too long. So try and get some sleep so you can wake up for school, and then you can fast the days and wake up for the pre-dawn meal, so you can fast the day as much as you can. Wa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam Muhammad wa alihi wa sallam. Any questions about any of that? No.
Does the cutting of hair and nails apply to females as well?
Hair and nails applies to everyone. Yeah.
And so what happens if you do cut?
There's no kafara on it, but that's the sunnah. There's nothing that you should or have to do. But it's the sunnah to say that, Ya Allah, it's a sacrifice. You know, I'm with you, Ya Allah. You know, my nearness to you, that's what Allah wants us to do. Because it's the sunnah of all the prophets that they cut their nails, and you know, all the different. There's 10 different sunnahs from all the prophets that they do, and that's one of them. So to leave a sunnah for that reason reminds a person of what they're going to do, because we're giving up a soul, are we not? At the end of the 10 days, it's a soul. Animals have souls. We believe animals have souls. So it's the giving of a soul back to Allah Azza wa Jalla. It's a big deal. It's not a small thing. So that time spent doing something different to what we normally do is you get a chance to remember during those 10 days with our nails and with our hair and whatever else it might be. Anything else? Any other questions? الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير من وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم ربنا زدنا علما زدنا علما زدنا علما يا الله ask you to forgive us and forgive our sins and uplift our spirits and our minds and our souls. Ya Allah, I ask you to illuminate our souls with knowledge that we've received, and I ask you, Ya Allah, to have the capacity to implement knowledge we've received in our lives. Ya Allah, I ask you to elevate our status in this world and the next. Ya Allah, I ask you to lift the misgivings, the misguidings, the injustices, the oppression of the Prophet of Allah and make the Muslims return to you, Ya Allah, in the best possible way. We ask you to guide us and guide others through us to your way, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we ask you to give us the reality and the understanding of these next 10 days, Ya Allah, so that we can worship you the way that you want to be worshipped, and so we can understand how the previous prophets came and how they worshipped you, Ya Allah, and how they sacrificed for your sake, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we ask you to forgive us and forgive our parents and forgive our family members. Ya Allah, we ask you to place barakah in this place in which we hold the class, and we ask you to put barakah in the lives of those who have allowed us to hold the classes. And we ask you to uplift and elevate the level and the status and the stations of our mashaykh, and to help them and to give them the divine assistance they need, Ya Allah, to fight and combat the evil that's in this world.